That's right, it's a new year, and I'm starting off with a video that kind of goes against some mold of my typical approach to these videos. I don't like sharing my opinion. At the most, it's typically at the very, very end to try and spur you guys to start a conversation in the comments. But today I'm going to comment on the status of US Futsal as it heads into the Concacaf Futsal Championships coming this spring and where we think things are going to land. I have a few questions that I'll pose to you guys at the end. Of course, this is more about you than me, as I've always hoped for this channel, but I am going to have to share a little bit of my personal opinion here. I think without it, I don't think I can cover this topic. It's just too near and dear to me and to you guys as we talk offline. So this is the direction we'll go for today. Let me preface this by saying that I have the utmost respect for the players and coaches of US Futsal national team. And I hope and will be cheering for them as intensely as I possibly can during these futsal championships. So whatever is said today and whatever is shared in the comments, please remember this. I have a ton of respect for the guys that are dealing with the constraints they're under to represent futsal from the United States. So with that, diving into it, it all revolves around these CONCACAF Futsal Championships coming up in mid-April. We are going to see the contest begin in mid-April in Nicaragua, which will feature 3 groups of 4, which will be a little bit different from last year, as there was an odd number of teams and 1 group of 4 and 3 groups of 3. And excuse me, not last year, last cycle. We have not seen any CONCACAF action for futsal since the last cycle on the international level, other than some friendlies. We'll talk a little more about that as well. But first, let's take a look at the groups and the breakdown from that. Group A, it starts with title holders Costa Rica. Costa Rica beating the United States in the final in 2000 to qualify for Lithuania World Cup. They also will face off against Mexico, Suriname, and Haiti. An interesting group. It should be a pretty clear cut for Costa Rica to come out of this group. They are, for me, by far the favorites in all of the groups to win again and go back to back as champions of CONCACAF. Mexico will be interesting to see. You know, traditionally, they've not done so well. They're in a similar boat to the United States in the sense that futsal is not particularly popular in that country, but other forms of indoor or arena soccer are, 5-a-side. So what is interesting is since the last cycle had ended, Mexico has seen a bit of a surge in futsal popularity. So how will those clubs and contests impact their national team and their representation here in Group A, and will they make it further than usual because of it? Only time will tell, but someone I'm definitely interested in seeing in Group A outside of title holders Costa Rica that should run away with this group. Now for me, Group B is the most interesting group of all. We have Panama, Cuba, Canada, and Nicaragua. Now, what I find particularly interesting is you have a team like Cuba, who, although in the last contest did not represent very well, is traditionally very good in futsal and represents very well at the futsal championships. Remember, guys, we were in very thick of COVID still during these last championships, so a lot of teams not participating together. In fact, no teams really participating together in any kind of preparation ahead for this. But leading up to this cycle and to this tournament coming up in April, Cuba has been active in friendlies. They've played against Costa Rica as well as some others and appear to be really tuning things up, getting ready for this contest. Panama always in that top 4 conversation, it seems. They are a regular, very interesting match with Panama and Guatemala last year for the 3rd place slot. And then Nicaragua, another country that, although statistically on paper has not shown very well in the past, has had a surge in futsal popularity since 2021. How will this surge a few years later impact them, especially as hosts? Very interesting to see what the host country does, and can they come out of this Group B? Very competitive. In my mind, one of the most competitive groups here is Group B. So let's see who comes out of that contest. Group C, Guatemala, another team that is just constantly in the mix in that top 4 conversation. Our very own United States of America, Trinidad and Tobago, as well as the Dominican Republic. Some familiar foes for the United States from the last time they were out, as they faced Guatemala in the semifinal, as well as the Dominican Republic in the quarterfinal in the last contest. So very interesting to see how US shakes up outside of this group. Here's where my opinion comes into play, guys. I think that the United States has been given a very favorable group. For them, they're looking at qualifying to make it out into the quarterfinal round by being a top 2 team from any of the groups. And then the 2 best third place teams will also advance to fill out that quarterfinal slot. For the USA to get any less than second place in this Group C would be extremely shocking to me. They should be able to handle the DR. They should be able to handle Trinidad and Tobago. I do not think they will beat Guatemala based on current status of national teams and who's prepared in what sort of ways. But where I think it's going to get difficult is the draw after the fact. If they get second place in this group, they will be facing either the second place team from Group B or possibly one of these third place teams. But it's going to depend on how things shake out. When you look at the schedule, it looks like if they get second place, like I suspect they will be facing the second place team out of Group B, which is by far the most competitive group of the 3. So it's going to be out of the frying pan into the fire from Group C into Group B competition with some of these really good teams, some of these upstart teams that are going to be really hungry to start making history and making some advancements down through the knockout stages. Especially with these World Cup titles on the line, slots on the line, it's going to be extremely difficult and extremely tough competition. The thing to consider, guys, is we really don't know what this USA team is going to look like. You know, if you're not in those circles immediately with the coach, you really don't get to hear much about what the team is doing to prepare. When I look back at what I heard coming out of the camps when I knew the coaching staff, when Coach Duchamp was there, you know, I knew that there were training sessions going on, that there were these monthly meetings of the core group of players, as well as trying out other players into the squad, traveling around the country. And, you know, unfortunately, we don't hear about that from U.S. Soccer or the U.S. Soccer Extended National Team social pages. You got to sift through a lot of beach soccer. You got to sift through a lot of the Pan Am Games and, you know, adapt and thrive messages from the corporation that is U.S. Soccer before you get to see too much about futsal. Now, there was, at the turn of the year, 2 great video interviews with Huerton Moriera as well as Marcia Taffarel, who are representing as head coaches for the men's and women's team, respectively. But, you know, other than that, in that quick 2-minute highlight video we got of practice sessions, we have not seen this team in action in competitive play outside of the group that is in these training sessions. How many of them have occurred? Well, one that we know of that was announced by U.S. Soccer, but outside of that, who knows? Who knows? Only a couple people can answer those questions. So it's going to be tough to say how prepared the USA is, especially when you look at these other countries that are making advancements, creating homes for true futsal in their countries, whereas the United States is once again reverted back to leaning on arena soccer players to fill this roster. Sure, there are some true futsalers in this roster, but you can clearly see based on the circle of people that Huerton Moriera is close to, he has to rely on what he knows, which is arena soccer players in our indoor soccer space in the United States. Going to be very interesting. I will be cheering for the United States the whole way. I think that Huerton has the stuff and the knowledge to be able to lead a national team. I just haven't seen it in action yet, and now we're going to see it on what is the most important stage for the United States, as it is really our only shot at international exposure as well as international play for these men that have been dreaming of representing their country in futsal or some form of indoor soccer. So curious to see how the upstart leagues of other countries impact them as we seem to take a step back and how we're investing in futsal. Again, guys, not anybody's fault that we're talking about in this video. I blame U.S. Soccer for this being an issue. If there is any blame to pass around, we've dealt with nothing but budget cuts for futsal the last several years. We have not been respected by the Soccer Federation for our practice of the sport. And to me, it's kind of shocking, as I think it is the most transferable to the outdoor game of all of the extended national teams. You know, I know that this is a sensitive topic to say, but I don't think any of the, you know, special teams that the extended national team supports can feed the national team for outdoor the same way that futsal can. So there's a great opportunity there to develop that and use it as a mine to find more talent for the national team. But then again, when you look at a national team that's dealing with angry parents, just like they're a local club soccer team, and can't seem to keep their story straight in the media without getting into the goofy politics of what should just be happening at academy levels in this country, then it really shouldn't be surprising that we're in this position in the first place. A little bit of passion coming from me. I hope you guys don't mind me mixing it up a little bit and sharing my opinion. But now it's time to hear from you guys. couple things I want to ask you. Would you be interested in doing watch-along streams with us on Futsal News Live if we follow along with the championship matches? Some of them are during regular work hours, and I will not be able to stream them, but certainly as the U.S. advances, I'm interested in doing watch-alongs with you guys if you have any interest in that. I think it could be fun and create a bit of an audience together and a place to share futsal insight while we watch these games. I think that could be really fun. Another thing for you guys to look out for, we are going to do a proper preview of the Futsal Championship for Concacaf in a live stream in March. And we have a special guest already lined up. I can't wait to announce this. Keep an eye out for that, guys, towards the end of February, early March, as we announce that that person that's joining Luke and I to talk about what is coming. What's most exciting is this person's going to be there. They're going to be in Nicaragua to watch these championships, and they're going to have a ton of insight even after the fact. So maybe we do a follow-up if they're up for that. I want to hear from you guys and what you're interested in looking ahead to the CONCACAF Championship. What do you expect from the United States? And who do you think are the countries that are going to move forward and dominate in this competition? Let us know in the comments. And until I hear from you then, don't forget to play with your soul.